Alright, the MCU Disney Plus shows are back again with Loki, Season 1. And just like I did for Tafaz, I'm going to be talking about each episode as it comes out. This time, I don't think I'll be doing the face cam thing for various reasons, there's some complications, but it's going to be a little less scripted, not too much crazy editing, just a quick thing about my thoughts after each episode. Should be fun, so let's get into it. Also, spoilers for Loki. Alright, first things first, I really enjoyed seeing Avengers Loki back in this. I can't say this for sure, but I feel like Tom Hiddleston has kind of missed playing the villainous Loki, like the really over-the-top, fun Loki from Avengers 1. Because, he still does some villainous things these days, but he's not as fun and sinister and in that comic book way. And it was cool to see that here again. Not just in Tom Hiddleston's performance, but also how it plays into his character in this episode, which we'll talk about. But also even in little things like Loki being more spiteful and I guess evil might be a bit harsh, but like when he just basically messes with that woman with the time thing, he didn't have to do that, but it's Loki, And I enjoyed seeing that again. And on Loki's character, diving into that character a bit more, his psyche and psychologically with, basically Owen Wilson is like his therapist in this episode. It's quite interesting, especially the point in time that they've plucked Loki from for the show, when he's, I guess, at his evilest, before any major redemption comes around, really. And so to see his perspective on his life so far and his purpose, and then to see how that's changed by what he learns about his future and how his past is presented to him, it's a great way of fleshing this character out a bit more and giving a different perspective to the arc that he eventually does have. I also enjoyed that the TVA has the same angles as all the MCU movies, but actually, if anyone was going to have that, that would probably be the TVA. They would probably be able to have those exact angles. Taking him from this point in time and then him seeing what's to come, again, it's another use of the MCU's expansive timeline, I guess. The fact that they've really built this universe in an in-depth way, so now we can just like they did in Endgame, you can just poke around in this timeline and it genuinely works because it's so expansive now. Again, just another cool use of that here. Also, yeah, Loki's destiny and him kind of realizing his life didn't amount to what, especially at this point in time, he thinks it should. He does have that redemption with his family, but in terms of his purpose, in terms of, that's the title of the episode, how that's going to change him and how he realizes that his destiny is kind of just to be the villain who's foiled and then has a tragic end. It's a very interesting concept. I imagine the message of the show is going to be, but he actually can change, and he changes his destiny and that kind of thing, which sort of was the original Loki arc as well. Then let's talk about Owen Wilson being added to the MCU, which I really enjoyed. Everyone knows I love a buddy dynamic, but here it really felt natural and organic and less contrived than some other buddy dynamics. There are a couple of moments that, feel a little bit like they kind of are trying to build up the rapport and dynamic here, but most of it is very fun and you already like them together. You kind of know where it's going. They start out and then Loki doesn't like him and they're going to end up being friends and because he understands him and he helps him open up. But yeah, it's a very charming performance. Owen Wilson's always fun and they have some charming banter, and I like the way they play off each other with Owen Wilson understanding him and trying in ways to help him, even if it is also for his own benefit, but then also mocking him quite often. It's a fun aspect. Also, I feel like Owen Wilson is definitely going to die at the end of the show. I'm calling it here. They become really good friends, and then Owen Wilson dies in some way. Probably evil Loki kills him. That's my call. In terms of the humor, it's pretty solid. There are a couple of very funny moments when Loki's talking to Casey about, fish. That made me laugh pretty hard. Some of it does feel like it's kind of following familiar MCU beats, like when Loki tries to use his powers. It was very Thor summoning Mjolnir-esque, and you kind of, as soon as it started, you knew where it was going. It's the dramatic buildup, and then it doesn't work. That even happened in the Avengers as well. Some moments like that, and some of the other quips you kind of see coming. It's very MCU-esque, but generally it was pretty fun, and then there were a couple moments that did very much actually make me laugh. Also, sorry if you can hear my computer sweating in the background. That is annoying. I'm sorry. I really love the premise of the show. I said this about the trailers as well. It's such a fun idea, but also the execution, the very specific execution of it here is what makes it more fun. So the TVA, the Time Variance Authority, this police that helps keep the time stream, that's a fun idea, and it can lead to a lot of fun things with the different points in time that we already have visited and will keep visiting. But then the way they do it by making it this kind of 1950s Star Trek-ish, old-timey but also futuristic technology. It feels like a thing from the 1950s trying to do futuristic tech. It's very fun. I really enjoy it. I also like the Flintstones-esque cartoon that they show to explain it. I really enjoyed that. And then just also these goofy, fun things. It's a bit Men in Black-esque, I guess, a tiny bit. but like you have to sign a thing for every word you've ever said. Everything about it, I really enjoyed the premise and the setting for this. It's a fun, goofy, comic booky, sci-fi kind of thing, and it's a bit self-aware of that it's, this kind of goofy, fun premise, and it's playing into it, and I like that. And also, I love the production design in the TVA headquarters, and obviously there's that big shot of the whole TVA world, whatever it is, and the effects there are pretty spectacular. But generally, yeah, I mean, this is, as we've come to expect with these Disney Plus shows, it's movie quality level, like production design and effects. I love the TVA portal effect. It's very kind of cool and unique. No, just great stuff. It really builds the atmosphere and the world of this goofy 1950s futuristic kind of place perfectly. The episode is a little oddly paced, I would say. It moves at a bit of a breakneck pace in the beginning and then kind of calms down a bit. I guess that it was also a bit intentional to show, for Loki, this is also all going super fast and he's finding out all this info, like, very quickly. But yeah, at a certain point, I was kind of happy that it slowed down a little bit. And just generally, I mean, the tone of it, like I mentioned, has that MCU-ish feeling vibe. They're quips and fun, and it's not really taking itself too seriously. And I guess I can also forgive Loki just, like, quipping the entire time and kind of, like, not really being that surprised by it since he's seen all this crazy stuff over all the years he's been alive. But yeah, it's exactly MCU-ish. It's exactly what you'd expect, which you can't really complain about. I mean, it is the MCU after all. But sometimes, maybe I wish they dialed back like a tiny bit on the quipping and comedic part in the first 20 minutes or so, but, it's fine. Then, just on the ending, real quick, I thought it was funny, because midway through the episode, I can't remember what it was, I think it's the devil, when the little girl points to the devil, I wrote down, like, yeah, the villain is definitely, like, an alternate Loki, and I thought I was very clever for thinking of that, and then at the end, they just reveal it, and I was like, oh, okay, so that was probably obvious. Yeah, because it makes sense, because it's dealing with time, and it's dealing with also Loki finding his self and his bad self and his good self, so it makes sense thematically that then the villain would be like an evil Loki from some other time stream or whatnot. Yeah, I mean, that should be interesting. Yay, we're gonna get another superhero versus a clone of themselves battle at the end. But, thematically it could be more interesting than maybe action-wise it might be. And yeah, I'm just very excited to see, especially based on what we've got in the trailer, these different, like, time streams going to different points in time, going to different, like, realities. I mean, Loki running for president and Lady Loki's going to be in it and all this stuff. I don't know, it's just a very fun premise, especially for this character who, has that comedic side to him as well, and just taking it to this, like, sci-fi goofy route and traveling to all these different places and times. It sounds like a very fun time to me, and these different, like, scenarios, Then just at the end here, some Easter eggs or stuff in that vein that I noticed that I just thought I'd mention. The opening where he goes to the desert, is that meant to be like Iron Man 1-esque? Because he kind of crashes in a sort of similar way and there's stuff strewn about. I don't know, maybe that was a little cheeky reference. People will definitely theorize that Mephisto's in this, because when she points to the devil, I was like, oh yeah, people are definitely going to be like, yeah, it's Mephisto again. Which, I mean, I make fun of, but I was kind of one of those people as well. But this time I was like, okay, I think it's pretty clearly meant to be like a storytelling, kind of like a metaphor. Like, it's not literally she saw a guy who looked like the devil. It's like, it was so bad that it was like the devil. But I kind of enjoy that, because I was like, here we go again. And then, and then at the end it's revealed it was Loki. So there's that. I like how Loki realized that the Avengers time traveled. It's a little, I mean, they kind of played off with a joke, like you can just smell that they're two Tony Starks, but it's kind of funny. DB Cooper is referenced. I will be honest, and maybe I'm alone in this, I was not familiar with this story before this. I read the Wikipedia opening paragraph in preparation for this video, and yeah, I mean, it's a fun reference, even though I didn't really play to me that well, just because I wasn't familiar. But stuff like that, like not in a super cheesy, or like in Minions where they're going through time, like not in that exact way, but if they do stuff like that where kind of Loki is revealed to be behind some things in history, and or you're going to different points in history, I can see that being very fun. That's a fun thing. All the Infinity Stones are in the desk, and like different versions of them just from people throughout time, and like their powers don't work and they're just used as paperweights. That was a very fun way of establishing like the TVA's not just like power, but also how it's just detached from everything. Like it doesn't have to play by any of the rules. It's just like completely separate from the normal MCU in a fun way. And then the whole multiverse thing, which I guess will also play into Multiverse of Madness. Have they said that Loki's going to play into that? I'm pretty sure they did. But yeah, there was a time stream war, and if things kind of get out of hand, then it's all going to be a mess, and there's going to be multiverses and all that. And yeah, that seems like what this whole phase is playing up to. And with Doctor Strange, we're going to obviously see that very heavily. Very excited for that, may get a little confusing along the way, especially for like people who are not super into the MCU. Like I can imagine more casual fans, maybe if they even like skip the TV show or something, they're gonna be like, what is happening by the time Doctor Strange comes out? But yeah, should be very fun. Fun next big thing to build to. So yeah, in conclusion, this first episode was very enjoyable. It's a bit like the trailer, just like a longer version. Like I feel like most of the stuff in the trailer is in this episode, which is fine. But I think we'll be getting a lot more like new stuff that we haven't seen before in the next few episodes. I really enjoyed it. I'm kind of I'm a little cautious of like jumping the gun a bit because I mean, WandaVision genuinely I thought started amazingly and then it ended up being like, yeah, pretty solid. And then Falcon and Winter Soldier, I really, as I was doing the week-to-week reviews, like right after I'd watched the episode, I really did I did enjoy it, but then as time has passed, when I look back on it, I'm like, it was also a bit like a normal MCU thing. Like, it wasn't maybe the top tier MCU stuff, and I feel like right after I've seen something, I'm a little more generous, and then after I've digested it a bit, to Foz was very fun and very solid in general. But yeah, I think it was, the more time has passed, it's not like Guardians of the Galaxy or something where it's really stuck with me like the most memorable MCU thing. So I'm trying to be a little careful here. I will say, yeah, this feels like an MCU show. It's entertaining, although nothing, like it didn't make me feel anything crazy, but it was very entertaining and enjoyable. If it keeps going like this, like I didn't have many complaints with this episode. I'm just excited to see this story play out and the goofy, fun sci-fi tone. I hope they continue that and don't fall too much into like the typical Marvel stuff as much. Like I hope it doesn't end with a Loki versus Loki battle, to be honest. If they keep this up with this 1950s sci-fi kind of vibe, I feel like this could be more like the first half of WandaVision and less the second half. So I'll give Loki Season 1, Episode 1 an 8.5 out of 10. So those are my thoughts on the first episode of Loki. What did you think of it? Let me know all of your thoughts down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram and Twitter at BHL_Hudson. Check out this podcast that I do with a friend of mine where we talk about movies, TV shows, a bunch of nonsense. It's called The Poorly Planned Podcast. And subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.